Sure.
We're on
All
now.
right. We're on now. All right. So, greetings, everyone, and welcome to Great Rock Solid Coaching on our Great Rock Solid Coaching page. And with us right now is Mr. Dan Rochon, and he is the head visionary and head coach and visionary of Greetings, Virginia. Being in the real estate business for over a decade. Wow, that's amazing, Dan. And what our purpose of this interview today is to actually find out the secrets, the many secrets and expertise of Mr. Dan Rochon. How are you doing today, Dan?
I'm good. And who are you, Diedrich?
Oh yeah. Oh, by the way, I'm Diedrich. I'm actually the marketing associate for Greetings, Virginia, sales network. And it's a pleasure to be hosting this, guys, and really excited, as you can tell. So let's get on to it. So
All right, cool.
all right, Dan. So tell us a little bit about yourself before we do anything. Before we get to the questions, can you tell us about some?
So I think the most important thing that I can tell you about myself is right over there. I got my wife that's staring at me over top of my shoulder, and I just realizing this as I'm looking at the screen, and she's always watching me when I'm working. So that's who's back there. I think that's the most important thing.
Awesome. Maybe I should start doing that too. Maybe it could give me a little, more inspiration of what I do for a living. That is. All right. So let's hop into it. Dan. First question. We want our audience to know, as far as being a term in a lot of industries, and they've been doing it. So we would like your definition of lead generation, as far as what you can share and what do you consider as lead generation.
All right. So I think the first thing that you have to understand is that if you're in real estate sales, you're actually in a lead generation business. So one of the first things that I learned, I've been in this business for about 11 years. And one of the first things that I learned 11 years ago, and I have this big, I'm at my home office today. I would show you, well, I guess if I could drive, we'd actually be doing a live class today, but that's beside the point. So in my office in Alexandria, I've got this big corkboard on it. And in that corkboard, I've got this blue piece of paper that's sat on top of that for the last decade. And it says, and it reminds me consistently that we're not in the real estate sales business. So that may surprise some. We are in the lead generation business, specializing in real estate sales. And so I think that that's something that you have to understand is that, our business is to get business. So my definition of lead generation is to find families that you can help, to find people that you can either solve the problem or you can provide. So ultimately you're going to do one of two things. You're going to either solve somebody's problems or you're going to help them achieve a goal. And that's why people hire you as a real estate agent. So as a real estate agent, it's going to be one or the other that you're going to be able to help them with. And as you can understand that, so our goal is to be able to get in front of them. Now, to be able to get in front of them, you're going to do so by one of two ways. All right. So I was hoping to have this a little bit interactive. So if anybody, so let me do this. So there's a few viewers on right now. So let me ask you guys a question. What do you think those one of two ways are in regards to lead generating? Like, what do you think that you could, how do you think that you could categorize the two ways up to lead generate?
All right, so that's Dan Rochon asking the question, and if you guys have any answers, you can either, for those of you who has the link, you can join us here live on BeLive.tv, or you can actually post your questions.
So, see how interactive we can do. Does who has an answer to my question of how can you lead generate? Well, let me give you the answer. So here's the way to do it. You can lead generate by one of two ways. My pen doesn't work. Figures. You can lead generate either by prospecting or by marketing. And those are the only two ways that you can lead generate. Okay.
Oh, we have here, Dan. We have like a few answers here for you.
All right. Cool.
Stephen Winans. Hello, sir. He said, reach out directly to those you know.
All right. I like it. So reach out directly to those that you know. So if you're reaching out directly to those you know, that's going to be prospecting. Okay. So when you're looking at this in lead generation, it's either going to be prospecting or it's going to be marketing. So prospecting costs you something and marketing costs you something. Cold calling. I love that. So what does prospecting cost you? Well, let me change that differently. The other one's easier. What does marketing cost you? We'll look for a pen while we do this. All right. Marketing costs you money and prospecting costs you time. So Stephen is right. Time is what prospecting costs. So if you have either prospecting or you have marketing, and those are the two ways that you can get business. And understanding that, there you go, money. That's right, Maria. So so those are the two ways that you can get business.
All right. So basically, the whole lead generation setup is, like you mentioned, Dan, it's all about money. But can you elaborate more on that? When you say money, are you telling me that people are required to shell out a huge amount of money just to lead generate? And if they will, what is the comeback to that? Well, I mean, what are the returns for those investments?
Well, here's the deal. You either have time or you have money. So, for example, if you're in real estate sales and you don't have money, then what's left is prospecting. Okay? So I don't recommend for anybody to get into the marketing game until you've mastered the prospecting and you've been effective with the prospecting. 10 years ago, 11 years ago, when I got in real estate sales, I didn't have a lot of money. And so as I started, I was just beating it was just nothing but shoe leather. And the challenge with that, with only prospecting, is remember that we said that prospecting costs you something, which is time. So if time is your limiting factor in regards to the prospecting, then it's not scalable. Okay, because we all only have 24 hours in a day. So you start with prospecting. Of course, that's not scalable, and then you transition the prospecting into marketing. Marketing is scalable because ultimately there's unlimited amount of money. I mean, it's just, there is that's not quite a true statement, but nobody will ever have as much money as there is in the planet. So if that's understood, then you can scale marketing. You can take marketing and that's how you can build a big business. But I wouldn't worry about marketing if you're not already optimizing prospecting, and that's really where most people should start. Really I would say almost everybody should start, because even if you do have money and you go ahead and you spend it, and unless if you're gonna spend it in a manner that's gonna allow for you to have predictable results, you're gonna end up spending a lot more money than what you would want to.
Right. So it really depends on the investment of both time and money, and just putting it at the right place and just balancing it out until you get the feel of it. Am I correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So Anthony says, when you have time to prospect, then money comes along right after. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think that's right. I mean, so what I would suggest for people to do is to identify what I call as your superpower. So when you're looking at when you do prospect, money follows, you have to understand it's a funnel. Okay, so you have to you want to connect with the funnel, you want to lead generate for appointments, and then so I'll draw it off here like this. I was hoping to have a marker, right, but I don't. Let's see if we can do this. So you want to basically do leads to appointments to agreements to contacts to money. Let's see if you guys can see this. Yeah. Can you see that? No, right there. All right. So leads to appointments. This is like high tech right here. All right. Leads to appointments to agreements to contacts to money. So understanding that's the funnel. Okay. And as you utilize that funnel, you want to be in a position where you are then, after you are doing that, then you're transitioning that to be able to then transition that into a marketing phase. I'm here. I think I lost Diedrich. Okay, that's all right. We lost Diedrich. So so that's basically what the strategy on that is. So Diedrich was asking me about about the lead generation effort, and that's what I had for him. So let me ask you guys. So what is your superpower? Because that's something that we want to set it up to sit there. In my opinion, is like I hate, you guys know what I hate? I hate to do open houses. I hate to do open houses. Anthony's saying we lost the feed. Did we lose the feed? Can somebody tell me if we're on here or not? I can't tell. I see Rick and Jennifer there. Are we still live? Someone give me a thumbs up. All right, cool. All right, so we want to sit there and we say, what is your superpower? So if your superpower is doing open houses, thank you, Steve. If your superpower is doing open houses, then that's what you should do. If your superpower is prospecting for expires, prospecting for FSBOs, that's what I believe that you should do. Let me ask you guys, where could you, if you had to find business, where could you get business from? Put some answers, type in some answers in there for us if you could. Want to have this, when I teach, I'm normally very interactive, so this is a different format for me. So, I want to make certain that we can get some interaction on this. So if you had to find a piece of business, where could you find one from? Open houses. Thanks, Rob. So open houses. Where else besides open houses? How about networking? Does anybody online do networking? AdWords. Fantastic. Now, is AdWords, is that prospecting or is that marketing? FSBOs, expireds, Facebook, your database, open houses. So AdWords, in my opinion, is marketing, because what does AdWords cost you? Does that cost you time or does that cost you money? It costs you money, right? Facebook ads, same type of deal. Facebook ads, in my opinion, are also marketing as well. So Julene, Facebook ads, absolutely, that's marketing. When you utilize, thank you, Maria. Yeah, it is money. So when you're utilizing Facebook in a manner to be able to get your name out there, to be able to get yourself out there, then you're able to, then that's how you can utilize Facebook as prospecting rather than marketing. Hey, Diedrich, what's up? Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, we got some unexpected tech difficulties. So yeah, I'm back.
All right, welcome back. I was just juggling while you were gone. It's fine.
All right, don't let me stop you, Dan.
So what questions do you have for me, Diedrich?
Okay, so I have another question here. And I want everybody to actually, thank you very much, guys, for participating on this. So Dan, how do you and your team lead generate? What are you actually doing as of the moment? Is there a business model that you follow?
Yeah, and that's what and that's what I was hoping to be able to share with you today, is that lead generation you have to put into a system. Okay, so I want you guys to write this down if you can. The first thing, in my opinion, the highest ingredient, the most important ingredient in lead generation is this right here, mindset. Okay, so you got to get your mind right first. And when you can get your mind right, you can do that by visualizing your success. They used to say that Larry Bird would go out and Tiger Woods and all these great athletes would go and they would visualize being successful before they're successful. Okay, so really it's about having that mindset. It's they're happy, they're home, they're going to talk to me and they're going to hire me. That's the perspective that we want to have when we're approaching the lead generation. Okay, so that's number one in regards to the way that we do it. Number two, in regards to the way that we do it, is that we do it systematically. So what I mean by that is every single day we're time blocking to lead generate. That's the most important priority of our business, because remember, what business did I say that we're in? Does anybody remember what business I said we're in, if you want to type it in? We're in the lead generation business specializing in real estate sales. So we're in the lead generation business specializing in real estate sales. Then we would want to do what to our business?
Yep, and it seems that Steven got it.
Yeah, Steven got it. Yeah, we would want to schedule the time to be able to prospect. So our actual plan that we have on our sales team is that we do go on one face-to-face appointment a day. Okay, so that's a face-to-face with somebody that can do real estate, something. That's something that, either you're working with a buyer or you're going to a seller's house, right? And now for some of us, we don't have that available. So if we don't have that available, then what do you do in that case? And what you do in that case is that you go and you visit a for sale by owner. Because there's always a for sale by owner available, right? So you can go and door knock on a for sale by owner. So our game plan is that we go on one face-to-face a day, 5 days a week. We go on 2 first-time appointments every single week, and we go on 1 networking event a week. Okay, so we do that every single week. Now, if you take a look at those for sale by owners, for example, let's say you have no appointments at all. You have nobody to go meet, and you go visit a for sale by owner on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday on week 1 of February. You do that again on week 2 of February, week 4 of February. You've visited 20 for sale by owners. Do you think that there's any way that you're not going to get hired by one of them? I mean, just the numbers in of itself will guarantee that you're going to get hired. So what we found that for every 5 for sale by owners that we visit, this is my experience. For every 5 for sale by owners that I visit, I get hired 1 time. So if I wanted to get 4 listings a month, the only thing that I have to do is go visit a for sale by owner each day. That's all I have to do. I don't have to do anything else, and I'll get 4 listings a month. All right, now, maybe you want to vomit if you think about going to go see a for sale by owner. That's okay. You can do the same thing as I'm going to go and do an open house. I'm going to go and I'm going to go to a networking event. I'm going to do whatever it is that I'm going to do. You just have to do something. All right, and when you figure out what it is that you like to do it on steroids. So if I was sharing with you earlier, I don't know if you were here or not, Dietrich, but I hate doing open houses. I hate it, hate it, hate it, hate it. I've done in my lifetime 2 open houses in 11 years, right? Maybe 3, but no more than 3, because I don't like doing it, right? So if I didn't like calling expired listings, I wouldn't do that either, but you got to do something, right? It doesn't matter what you do, you just got to do something. And then when you do it at a high level, the highest level possible. Does that answer your question, Diedrich?
Yes, sir. So let me get this straight. So it's more of like, if I will use the analogy of, I'm pretty sure you're familiar with darts.
Sure.
So my analogy, as to my understanding of what you explained, is that I would grab a load of dart pins and throw it to the, towards the bullseye of the dartboard, and one of them, at least one of them, will hit the bullseye. So it's a numbers game. Is that what is that correct? Is that, because that's what I'm getting.
The only thing I would change in your analogy is I'm going to throw them one at a time.
Okay.
Because even though I suck at darts and I just keep throwing them and throwing them and throwing them and throwing them and throwing them, I'm going to hit something.
Okay.
Now, that being said, can I increase my skill set in darts? Absolutely. Can I practice? Can I get a coach? Can I get a trainer? Can I study techniques? Absolutely. Right? So as you're sitting there and understanding, to sit there and say, well, listen, if my skill set is awful, if I just take enough shots, I'll hit that bullseye at some point. So now how do I position myself so that I take less shots? And I do so by practice and training. So every single day I do my scripts and role play. I've got literally right here in my book, like this is my little book of ideas that I carry with me all the time. And I always have a script in here. So I'm always practicing a script, right? The script that I'm practicing right now is the problem presentation, for sale by owner. So, may I tell you about Mr. For Sale by Owner? May I tell you about the 4 types of buyers? You got the series in a hurry. They may be moving to our town right now. They got about 3 days or so to find a home, or maybe they just sold theirs and they need to get into another, or they're going to lose their contract. That's the beginning of a script that I could utilize when I'm talking to a For Sale by Owner and face to face. Okay, and that's something that I'm practicing right now. So I'm always developing my craft. Just like throwing those darts, you want to be in a position so that you're always increasing your skill set and taking lots of shots.
Awesome. Makes perfect sense. And since you mentioned, Dan, about the scripts and the necessary tools that we use for lead generation, I want to squeeze this question in here since it became more relevant. So, talking about scripts, can you tell us if these kind of things are still significant today? Like, for example, let's go way back. Of course, what we rely on, we don't have any online marketing strategies or online methods in how to lead generate. So scripts are very powerful tools. So let's talk about the scripts. Are the scripts of yesteryears still working today, or is there a necessity to do some evolution when it comes to using these scripts? Any thoughts on that?
Effective scripts utilize effective languaging. So a couple things to speak on that. First of all, as a real estate agent, our toolbox that we have, particularly as technology is becoming prevalent, the resource and the tool that we have is what we know. Okay, the experience that we have. The delivery system of that knowledge and experience is what we say and how we say it. So to be able to master what you say and how you say it, you do so through understanding what you need to say to be able to cause somebody. I literally, just before this phone call, had a conversation with a seller that was not interested in accepting an offer that was $10,000 off from his price. And I'll call him Bob. I don't want to say his name. So I said to Bob, Bob, do you know what scares me about what you're considering right now? here's what scares me about what you're considering. And then I went on with that. I know that emotionally, when I said that to him, his heart sank and he stopped and he listened to me. Okay. And then I was able to then communicate a point. And we got from a hard no to the end of the conversation to I'll think about it. Let's talk again. And not only that, by the way, he says, hey, I got another property that I want to sell as well. So we got from a hard no to let's talk later today. And hey, by the way, do you sell land, Dan? Oh, absolutely. I can help you with that. Right? So I was able to get that done because I knew what to say. I knew how to say it. So to me, we all have scripts. Dietrich, you're married.
Yes, sir.
With your wife, do you find yourself that you're ever saying the same things to her? Like maybe take out the trash, or she's asking you to take out the trash, and then you're saying something?
Yeah, I guess saying something on a daily basis, something consistent. Yes, that's a definite yes. Yeah,
so that's a script. Okay, because we all have scripts. We have an internal way of communicating with each other, and in a frequent way of communicating with each other. So that's right, Anthony. Even the best actors and actresses use the scripts to get paid well. In fact, all actors and actresses, and look at the millions that they make. Okay, so this is your profession. So understanding that, knowing what to say and how to say it. Now, when I mentioned to you earlier that it's a languaging process. Okay, so something that you could study, that I highly recommend that you study, is something that's called neuro-linguistic programming, or NLP. NLP is a way of communicating, and you can just Google that. You can find all kinds of YouTube videos out there, that type of stuff, and you can find just small little ways to be able to communicate more effectively, so that you're able to get somebody to take action. I don't know the background of the people that are online right now, but if you're in Keller Williams Realty and if you've taken Bold before, they teach you two techniques out of many techniques of communication that is embedded in NLP. And those two techniques, they teach embedded commands and they teach tie downs. So a tie down is something that's going to solicit a yes 100% of the time, or damn near 100% of the time. So I'll give you an example of that. Each one of you on this video right now, on Facebook Live right now, that are watching this, are doing so because you want to be able to better yourself in some manner. Isn't that right? Doesn't that make sense? Right. So isn't that right is a tie down, right? So you have almost 100% chance that that's going to be a yes, because if that wasn't a true statement, you wouldn't be here right now. Okay, like if you didn't want to learn a little bit about this or interact with a little bit about this, you wouldn't be here. So I already know that that's a true statement. So if I'm intending to communicate with somebody like a seller, for example, and say, listen, Mr. Seller, I know what you're doing. What you're intending to do is that you're intending to get the most amount of money in your pocket. You're intending to get the highest profit. Isn't that right? Now they're saying yes, because who's not going to look for the highest profit? Okay, so this is using the neuro-linguistic programming techniques. So then you can add on to that where you do it's like a two-step. So a two-step would be, so Mr. Seller, so I know that you want to make the highest profit for the sale of this property. So hiring the right agent is very important to you, isn't it? Right? So that second step of that is that you're now directing them to something that you want, which is to hire the right agent. But I'm giving them to say yes to, you want to get the most amount of money for this. So hiring the right agent is going to allow for you to do that. Isn't that right? And that's what the tie down is. Okay, I'll give you one more example of an NLP technique. It's called an embedded command. So an embedded command is a command that if you early on in the movie industry, they used to post these movies, and they would they would put like a little Coca-Cola or a popcorn flash in the frames, because they have like all these frames that would make somebody move. Not like now we can talk all across the world now, right? So anyway, they would put these little Coca-Cola frames in the reels, and it became illegal. But what was happening was that people would watch the movies and subconsciously they'd be like, oh man, I want a Coke. Oh, hey, I want to get some popcorn, right? Because they wouldn't understand what was being communicated to them. So an embedded command works very much in that same manner. So what an embedded command is it's 2 to 4 words typically that in of itself makes a complete sentence that you embed in the framework of another sentence. So I'll give you an example of that. So Diedrich, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me right now. And when we meet, you're going to understand, very well why so many people choose us to be able to get them the highest profit for the sale of the property. I mean, you do want the highest profit for the sale of your property, right?
Definitely.
I couldn't help it. I just had to throw a tie down in there at the end as well. So the embedded command was what? Did you hear what the embedded command was?
I kind of missed it. I'm sorry.
That's the way it's supposed to be. The embedded command was choose us. Okay, so when you do the embedded command, you're doing a little pause before and you're doing a little pause after. Okay, then subconsciously what they hear is choose us. So when you and I meet, Diedrich, you'll understand why so many people hire me to be able to get them the highest profit. The embedded command there was hire me. Okay, so it's a 2 to 4 word sentence that stays on itself. So hire me, does that in of itself, does that make a sentence?
Yes, sir.
Right? Very simple sentence. Choose me, hire me, buy now. Right? That's a great way to end a conversation with a buyer, by the way. Buy now. Right? You're talking to their subconscious when you're doing that. When you're hanging up the phone, buy now. Right? So those are some of the ways so I'm sharing all that because your question originally was, do scripts work or are scripts relevant in today's age? In my opinion, they're more relevant than ever, and it's the basic tool that a real estate agent embraces. It's the basic tool that we utilize to be able to influence. Because ultimately what we're doing with our clients is that we're influencing them to make the right decision. We're influencing them to oftentimes to get out of their own way. Just like that guy I was just talking to about an hour ago. He is concerned about selling for $10,000, different than what his list price is. Yet, I know that he doesn't want to be a landlord anymore because this is an investment property. I know that the future, we don't know what's going to happen in the future, right? He could, he's going to have more maintenance to it. He's going to have more time that he's going to own it. The market may shift. We don't know where the market's going to go. We know that we're at the top of the market right now. All these things may occur. And yes, $10,000 is a significant amount of money, yet we've had 95 showings on that property and 1 offer. It is clearly overpriced, okay? And for me to be able to communicate that in a manner that's respectful to him, that he understands that, hey, yeah, I am overpriced and this is what it's worth, and if I don't sell it now, I may own this property for the next 10 years and I don't want to do that. That's my job as a skilled professional, to be able to help navigate him to not sabotaging himself, right? I mean, that's ultimately what we get paid to do.
Right. So on those thoughts, I would like to hear the thoughts of our audience right now, Dan, as far as, scripts and lead generation connecting with each other. So my question would be, do you or do you not think that the scripts from yesteryears and the scripts from today has the core is still the basics, like what Dan mentioned? He mentioned a lot of points on the scripts, but do you think that psychology and society right now has a great effect on how you use the scripts today compared to then? Let's hear your thoughts, guys.
Anthony says list now. That's an embedded command. That's a great embedded command. So the question is, do you believe that scripts work? Do you believe that scripts are relevant? Just say yes or no. Or say more than that if you want. So when you answer now, you'll be able to participate higher on this webinar. See what I did there?
Yeah.
I did a little embedded command on there. Answer now.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that, because when you mentioned earlier about the embedded command, I thought I had a better understanding about it, because since I had a little background about marketing, I thought you were referring to like brand retention. Since you mentioned Coca-Cola, and it's okay, so we have everybody here saying yes.
Yes.
Yep, scripts are still important. So what I was able to absorb is that brand retention, when that Coca-Cola logo was appearing constantly on that movie, it is more of that's where the subliminal message comes in. But when you explain further what these commands are, it makes perfect sense, because you are not just trying to ask them to hire you, but it's more of telling them to hire you right now. And it displays a certain level of command that is so subtle. And so, for the lack of a better term, it's ninja-like. You get the job done, under the shadows. I just love it. I love this portion of the webinar. And we have something from Rob Thompson right now. He said, I like it to a good waiter at a restaurant. If they fumbled around with telling me about the specials like they didn't know what they were going to say, that's unprofessional. Any thoughts on this, Dan?
Yeah, Rob, Diedrich for Rob. Rob, what I want to tell you about, I don't know if you've had lunch yet or not, but what I want to tell you about is this porterhouse steak. It's 24 ounces, dry aged for 2 weeks, which really intensifies the flavor of that steak and really allows for it to be the highest grade beef available. That has a sirloin on one side of the T-bone that's nice and lean, and a fillet on the other that is the most. It would just literally melts in your mouth. You can just cut it with a spoon, and that's what I would recommend that you eat for lunch today. So that's a script that I learned about 15 years ago when I was a waiter at the Capitol Grill in Washington, D.C., that I still have today, that I can still, I could tell you their entire menu, or at least the menu that they had at the time. I have no idea what their menu is today. I haven't been in there in a decade. But you're completely correct, because as a waiter, as a professional waiter that I was before I was a real estate agent, that's what I did, and I was able to sell. I mean, our average price point was $100 plus was my average price point per person, right? So that's a pretty significant amount of money to pay for dinner, and we were able to get those high price points because we were able to professionally communicate what they should eat and drink.
All right. So, before we proceed, I would like to hear some questions from our audience for Dan regarding the scripts, and and if you were able to recall and retain how he was able to follow a business model and how to lead generate and how he applies them to his team right now. We welcome all the questions before we proceed, and we're going to give you like a couple of minutes for that, and then we're going to go on to the next question. Would that be okay for you, Dan?
Sure, absolutely. And you guys can throw in a question anytime as well. I'm happy to answer any questions.
So I like that. I like how you described that steak, Dan. It made me hungry. Like you could cut it with a spoon. That's awesome. All right, so they can pose the question anytime they want to. We will entertain the questions while we're getting on to the next question. My next question would be, Dan, is it's not really more of a question, but it's more of you know, we need answers on this statement. And if you can help us, if you can tell us what are the benefits of having a dedicated lead generation department in your company, greatly affects all the things that you have put there on that that you draw there, appointments to contacts to profit. Let me hear your thoughts about how having a dedicated lead generation department helps a company or a real estate agent.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I do have a dedicated lead generation department, yet not everybody's able to do that. And years ago, I wasn't able to do that. I'm only able to do that because I started as one, right, me, and I would, had enough success in real estate sales to be able to then hire somebody else and hire somebody else and hire somebody else. So first of all, I wouldn't recommend for anybody to even consider hiring an ISA or anything, inside sales agent, anything like that, until you've actually developed the skill set yourself, you've implemented it at a high level, you've leveraged off all your administrative and operation tasks to another assistant. Then you can consider to say, okay, now let me consider to hire somebody else to help me do this. But guess what? My job is still today, my primary job. I have three primary jobs, excuse me. That is finding listings, finding extraordinarily talented people to work together with, and then leading those people so that I can help them to achieve their greatness, open up the doorways in front of them, and that they can achieve whatever goal it is that is important to them. And that's my job description. So 2 out of the 3 priorities in my job description is lead generate for talent, lead generate for listings. And the third is to help others to live their very greatest life. And in most cases, that's going to involve a bit of lead generation as well. So going back to, okay, how does, if I was a real estate agent, I am a real estate agent, but if I was a real estate agent starting out and I was considering, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna start off with, on day one, should I go hire an ISA? No, I strongly feel no. But things that a real estate agent's job description is, in my opinion, is lead generate, convert those leads that you generate, go on appointments, negotiate, inscription role play. So you have 5 things to do, okay? So now, does that mean that a real estate agent only has 5 things to do? No way. We all know that that's not the truth. A real estate agent has 876. I've got a 192 point thing on my website that says here's the 192 steps that we take to be able to help you as a seller, and that's only a fraction of what we actually did. So in my opinion, you want to whittle it down as you're setting yourself up for success, is you want to whittle it down so that you're only doing those 5 things. So as you're going through, you have to understand that filling out a CMA, inputting something in the MLS, doing inputting information for a buyer offer. Those are all things that are not in those 5 things that I just described, so that I believe that an assistant and somebody that here's the reality of it is I hate details. I'm not interested in them. Now I know the contracts extraordinarily well because I have to. I know them like the front of the in the back of my hand, but it's not my skills. It's not my wheelhouse. I only do it because at a high level because I have to. So that being said, we want to be able to to focus on what it is that we do that makes us money and helps people really. Let's just put that to foresight. What do we do that help the most amount of people? And then when we can do that, we can really build a big business. The way that so all that being said, as my business has developed and as I had those systems in place and those people in place to be able to serve others, to be able to allow for me to do my 5 things in my business that's most important, Then I started hiring on a sales department, and now we have a sales department of 5 people that every single day they're calling expires, they're calling for sale by owners, they're calling circle prospecting, they're calling through my database to invite them to a client appreciation party that we do every quarter, and that really benefits the people that we work with, and it benefits those that we serve.
Gotcha. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow up my main question with another question, if it's okay with you, Dan.
Sure.
So, for those people out there, for those, first-time real estate agents, of course, everybody wants to have that certain level of success that you were able to experience firsthand, especially as far as, creating a dedicated lead generation department or team. So my question would be for them is that, how would you know when or what is the right opportunity, or when is the right opportunity for me to expand my arms as far as my coverage, as far as lead generation is concerned? How would I know? What are the signs? What are the, who do I need to talk with? So that's basically my question.
Okay, and Rob, I'll answer your question in a second. Thank you for that. So when you say who do you need to talk to, Diedrich, you talking about like who do I need to talk to in regards to bringing somebody on a team, or who do I need to talk to in regards to a prospect?
I mean, who do you need to talk to let you know, at least give you a hint that you're now ready to expand and start hiring ISAs for your lead generation?
You follow an economic model, a budget model. So you want to, it's everything that you do. You play red light, green light. So you do the activity, you do the efforts, and let's say you first of all, what you have to understand is that you have to lead generate every single day. Because if you don't lead generate every single day, you ride the roller coaster. And that roller coaster is I get 2 or 3 clients, I work with them, I go to closing, yippee, congratulations. I have no clients, because while I was serving those people, right, for those 2 or 3 months, I didn't have, I wasn't taking the time to lead generate for my 2 to 3 hours every single day. So to be able to get past that, and that's the first thing that you have to do, is you have to lead generate yourself so that your business is going on a trajectory that's consistent and predictable. So that's the key ingredient. Like this class was called Systemized Lead Generation. Here's the key to that. You just have to do it every single day. And I don't care, like whatever you commit to, if I commit to saying I'm going to have 2 contacts a day, 5 contacts a day, whatever the case may be, Anthony, I'll answer that question in a bit. So whatever it is that you commit to, then you do it. My commitment is that I have 20 conversations about real estate every single day. My definition of a conversation about real estate is that I ask for a referral or I ask for an appointment. And that's it. So when I ask for a referral or I ask for an appointment, then that counts as a conversation. If they say, screw you, I hate you, Dan, it still counts as an appointment. Okay? So understanding that counts as an appointment, I have 20 conversations about real estate every single day. So far today, I've had, where's my sheet of paper? I've had, let's see, it's in here somewhere. Well, I'll show you, these are the other days. So here's my 20 conversations right here, right? I write down, and some of these guys hung up on me. You can see some of them highlighted in yellow. Those are the ones that I either nurture an appointment. Right, and I keep track of this every single day. Right, that looks like a good day there. There's more yellow on that than there is on this. There's no yellow on that. So, so that's my standard for myself. Now, right now, I think I'm at 6 conversations for the day. If I don't get to 20 today, guess what I have to do tomorrow? I have to make up for the ones that I missed today. So there's some days, like I was in training, I was in New Orleans over this past weekend. I was there on Friday and Monday. So Friday and Monday, I wasn't able to, really have very many conversations at all. Well, guess what I have to do when I'm done with this, or I have the opportunity to do when I'm done with this, is I'm going to catch up on my numbers. So that's the foundation. You got to get the foundation before, and I'll answer your question that you asked. I do remember your question, which is, how do you know that you're ready to hire somebody? It's when you've mastered that, when you have the revenue coming in that you can afford to hire an ISA. It's when you have all your administrative tasks that are leveraged to somebody else, and when because you don't want to hire an ISA in front of the admin. You have to get the admin in straight. Then it's when you're maximized, where you feel as though, if you know what, I've got the money coming in, and now I can invest that into talent to help me to create more opportunity and more business, so I can help more families solve their problems or achieve their goals. And that's when you actually take a look at hiring an ISA, when you're in that point in your business. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it definitely did. So clear.
Let me ask a couple questions on the form here. Rob asked, what do you say to your sphere when you call to lead generate? Are you blunt and ask for a lead, or do you just check in and let them remind and let that remind them that you're in real estate? So I do 4 client appreciation events a year. The reason why I do 4 client appreciation events a year is so that I always have a reason to call my sphere. Okay? And that I always have a reason to call my sphere in a manner that I'm offering them value and contribution. If I called you up and said, Rob, would you like an ice cream cone? And assuming that you're not on the keto diet or something, right? You're gonna be like, yeah, cool. Would love it. Would love an ice cream cone, right? If I called you up and say, hey, Rob, can I buy you a new car? Absolutely. Well, now clearly one's higher value than the other, yet both are providing you value. So you have to understand that when I'm calling my sphere, the first thing is, and this is what I'm calling anybody, by the way, or I'm communicating with anybody, is that the foundation has got to be coming from a place of contribution and adding value to their lives. When I can help them, when I can contribute to them, then I have the right to be able to ask for something in return. So if I mail them something, it's always going to be something that is coming from value and contribution. If I send them a video email, it's going to be something that's going to be something that I hope is going to help them in their lives. So when I do call them to ask for a referral in the back, I would say, and this would be the script that I would use, I would say, Rob, hey, it's Dan Rochon, Keller Williams Realty. Hey, listen, you got 2 minutes to help me with a problem? That's a very significant thing that you have to say. Do you have 2 minutes to help me with a problem? That's important, because when I say, Diedrich, hey, can you help me with a problem?
Yeah, I can spare 2 minutes.
Yeah, like, how did you just feel, even in the face of, that this is just, practice right now? How did that make you feel?
It made me feel that I have a responsibility that I need to do, for you, and not in the sense that it's a large scale, but spending 2 minutes with you and hearing you out is already, responsibility that I will put upon myself to give you.
Sure. So Rob, do you have 2 minutes to help me with a problem? Listen, you know that I'm in real estate sales, and it's getting towards the end of the first quarter of 2019. And you know that I have big goals and big ambitions to help a lot of people to be able to solve their problems and to achieve their goals. And I was just curious, if who do you know right now that may be in the market to buy a home or sell a home or invest in real estate that I could give a call to? Maybe somebody from your family, or maybe somebody that you used to work with, or somebody from your church. Who comes to mind? Nobody comes to mind? Well, thank you so much for thinking about that. Rob, who do you know that may know of somebody that's in the market to buy a home, sell a home, or invest in real estate? Give a call to today. Okay, so that would be a sample of a script that I would ask, but I only have the right to call them if I'm adding value to their lives. So if you look at the ratio should be like a 4-to-1 at least, where I give, and then ask. Okay, so that's the ratio of the way to make that work. So if I give, and then I ask in a skillful way, then you're going to be in a position that you're going to be able to get a return. So let's break apart that script that I use. And when you talk about NLP, neuro linguistic programming, and the way to understand how to communicate effectively, the way I just did that, there's a lot of hidden gems in there I'll point out to you. So I already pointed out the first one where, hey, Rob, do you have a 2 minutes to help me with a problem? That's a skillful way, because most people are going to be like, oh, you have a problem, particularly if you're in the habit of helping them. Then you say, who do you know that's in the market to, who do you know is an open-ended question rather than a closed-ended question. All right, so what you don't want to do is you don't want to say, do you know of anybody that's going to buy a home or sell a home or invest in real estate? Because if you say, do you know of somebody, there's only two answers to that. Which is the easiest? The easiest is just say no, because you're going to let your mind get lazy. Okay? So you say, who do you know that's in the market to buy a home, sell a home, or invest in real estate I could give a call to today? Did you recognize something that I just did there that we talked about just a few minutes ago?
What I got is the difference between the okay. So Rob beat me to it in such a small word.
Embedded commands. You remember that?
Right.
So you guys didn't catch that the first time I went through it. Are you in the market? Who do you know that's in the market to buy a home, sell a home, or invest in real estate I could give a call to today? All right, so that's the next part of that script to make it effective. And then the last part of that script to make it effective is I ping you in your brain, because we all have lazy brains, okay? So here's what I mean by that. If I just sit there and so let's try this out, Dietrich. So ask me something bizarre, not real estate related. Let's see, Dietrich. Do you know any ice skaters?
No.
Dietrich, who do you know that has skated on ice in the past? Maybe somebody that you went to school with as a kid? Or maybe
my cousin, he plays hockey.
All right, and you're for real saying this? I mean, like this is for real right now, right?
Yes.
Are you not just playing along?
No.
All right. Option one was a direct no. Option two is I start pinging your brain, because I know you know somebody that's ice skated in your life. And so now I start pinging your brain so that now you start thinking. Okay, so I'll go through that entire script again one last time so that you can sort of understand. I'll put it all together after I explain what I just did. So Rob, you got 2 minutes to help me with a problem? Well, listen, I'm in real estate sales. I want to hit my goals this year, and we started off a little bit slow. I was curious, who do you know that's in the market to buy a home, sell a home, or invest in real estate that you give a call to today? Maybe somebody that went to your high school, or maybe somebody that you worked with in the past, or goes to your wife's work. Who comes to mind? Completely open question, and I'm pinging you in the brain. So that's the script there. So that's the way, Rob, that I communicate with to ask for referrals from my sphere. Does that answer your question? I'll wait for a second to see if that answers right. If that doesn't answer your question, Rob, let me know. Anthony asks, what's the best way to lead generate with past clients? Well, first of all, the best way to lead generate with past clients is to not lose touch with them. So that's sort of you're welcome, Rob. So Anthony, so the best way to lead generate for past clients is to not lose touch with them. So when you are when you're staying in touch with them, then you're in a position, and again, you're always adding value and contribution, and assuming that you did a fantastic job with them in the first place, then you're going to be able to to naturally stay in touch with those past clients. Now, a couple things to notate: when you're in a transaction with somebody, the best time to be able to ask for a referral. Who can think of the best time to ask for a referral? Put in your comments on that, if you could. The question is, when is the best time to ask for a referral? When you're working with a client in real time. So I'll give you the answer. So the best time to ask for a referral when you're working with a client is when you do something good. And so when you do something good is the time that you would want to ask for a referral. So I'll give you an example. What most people do is they say something like no problem or whatever the case may be. So for example, at closing is a good it could be the answer, right? But it's when you do something good. So when somebody says to you, Diedrich, thank you so much for driving that paperwork over to me, because you know I don't like computers and I didn't want to have to do it online, and I know there's a lot of traffic out there. I really appreciate that you brought that over to me. Thank you. Our natural inclination is to say what to that? No problem. Okay? So instead of saying no problem, we want to transition that into you're welcome, or better than that, my pleasure. Oh, by the way, who do you know that is also looking for this same level, high level of service that I could give a call to, that may be in the market to buy a home or sell a home or invest in real estate? You know, maybe somebody that you work with, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that's when you ask for the referrals, when you do something good. Okay, it should be instinctive in you that when somebody says thank you, that programs you to make a request. Because what precedes thank you? Here's what precedes thank you. It's that you do something of value and contribution for them. You did something good. Okay, so if you remember that the key to success is always add value, always add contribution. But when somebody says thank you, it is a proven that you just provided them value and contribution. So it's natural that you ask for that referral at that moment. Does that make sense to you guys? I know you all nod, I can't see you, right? But hopefully it does. If it doesn't, just type it in there and say, Dan, I'm confused.
Well, for me, my take on it, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's like just being able to identify the right opportunity when it comes to having a conversation and letting them realize that it's not really that letting them realize that they owe you, but it's kind of like that, but in a very subtle way. Is that correct?
It's the law of reciprocity. Okay, so the law of reciprocity, it's a natural, that's something that I've been toying around with for years, and I haven't really actually gotten. There's a piece of the law of reciprocity where I keep intending to figure out, if anybody has a suggestion, I'd love to hear your suggestion of how to, at a listing appointment, like if I gave you a coffee, right? Like say, like unexpectedly, I came to your house and I just showed up and I have a cup of coffee for you. Hey, here's coffee. Your inclination is going to be like, how do I help Dan back? It doesn't have to be anything big. Okay. So I've been toying with that, even like on my listing appointments. And what I finally came up with is we show up with cookies. I show up with cookies. It's a little bag of cookies here. Hey, thanks for meeting with me. Right? I mean, it's like 4 cookies. It's no big deal at all. Right? But it's embracing the law of reciprocity that if I give you something, that you're naturally going to be inclined to give back.
Right. And that's true. And it's happening even for bad things. The law of reciprocity actually applies. Yeah. And but
if you're gonna hit me back.
That's true. But if you're focusing on the good things, I totally agree with you that, Dan, even for the smallest things, even for like, hey, do you have loose change for $1? And then they would give you the change and you'd be like, I really owe you because I really need to, hit the payphones. Payphones they don't exist anymore today. So, but anyways, it's kind of like the thought of that. Those little things really matter. And it will blow up into something big if you consistently do these things as far as your spheres are concerned. I'm sure you agree with that.
I do. Before you ask me the next question, Anthony, I know Dieter's going to ask me another question here. I want to ask you, did I answer your question? And just type in there. It may take you a second, so I'll look for that answer. I want to make sure I answer your question well. So, Dieter, what's your next question for me?
All right, so this one is a very interesting one because a lot of people are kind of divided when it comes to my next question here, because let's talk about shifts on the market. You know, some people say that there are shifts. Some people, they don't believe that. But, you know, depending on your belief, Dan, so how do you handle these kind of thoughts as far as lead generation with your team is concerned? How do you handle these myths or facts?
Well, first of all, you have to understand that we're always in a shift. Secondly, it would be to have an understanding of the marketplace and have an understanding of the economics of the marketplace. And the more that you as a real estate agent, you should be your local economics of choice, economist of choice, excuse me. You should be the local economist of choice for your sphere of influence, okay? So you should be able to communicate, for example, that in Northern Virginia or across the entire country, that the bottom of our market was in 2009. Okay, that was from a height of the market in 2006. From 2009 to 2013, our market has appreciated really rapidly from 9 to 13. And from 13 to 19, it is appreciated on an average of 3.7% annually. Now, because Northern Virginia is such a large area, it has so many micro pockets of economies that even if you take a look at Alexandria, for example, you look at the Route 1 corridor versus Old Town Alexandria, which is Alexandria City, versus the West End versus Franconia, Kingstown. Those are all very different markets, right? So you have to have the knowledge of what's going on in each of those markets. So the foundation of it is really, first of all, you have to understand what the marketplace is. You have to understand that the home price annually, the median home prices have risen 5% in 2018. Okay, that's the median for the entire country. The median price for the country is $259,100. That's the median price for the country. You also have to understand that sales in 2018 were 0.3% less in 2018 than they were in 2017. In 2017, they were on average of 5.8. 2018, they were on an average of 5.1. Okay, I think I got that right. So first of all, you have to understand the economy. Then when you understand the economy, and the way that we understand the economy is by looking forward. By looking backwards. The way we understand the economy is by looking backwards, because backward tells an accurate story. So when you look backwards and you look at shifting markets, you have two types of shifting markets. Actually, three types of shifting markets. You have a seasonal shift, you have a macro shift, and then you have a technology shift. So we're going through a technology shift in real estate sales right now. In the time that I've been in real estate sales, the marketplace today is different because there were not discount. There's always been discount agents, right? But the difference between now and in the past is that now the discount agents teamed up with technology. It allows for those agents to be able to be more prevalent in the marketplace. And then as a discount agent says, hey, I'll take a 1% listing. Well, even if you're not competing against that 1% listing, you're competing with it. It drives the market downward in regards to compensation. So what's happening in the marketplace right now is it becoming commoditized. So what a commodity is that the consumer only values your services based off of what you charge. So we as agents have got to do a better job of communicating how we help others with the experience that we have. And experience becomes more and more necessary in this shift of technology. So that's the shift of technology. Then you've got the macro shift. The macro shift is what's going on over the years. So where we are right now in 2019 is we are the highest that the marketplace has ever been, coming up from 2009. And between 2009 and 2013, it was actually between 2009 and 2013, and then it was a more of a less of a dramatic increase from that point. So if we're at the top of the market, we may continue to be here for a while, yet the next market will be a shift, and a shift we're going downward. We just don't know how long we'll be where we are right now. Because we will not know it, and when we do know it, it's going to be because we're looking in the rearview mirror. It'll be too late by the time we figure it out. Then the last one is, so that's the second shift, is the macro shift, the technology shift, and then it's the seasonal shift. The seasonal shift happens every single year. August is always the month that the most amount of homes are sold. January is always the month that the least amount of homes are sold. However, here's what, when I'm communicating to a client, here's what they have to understand. First of all, those homes sold in August, when were they listed? They were listed 90 days prior, okay? So you're looking at April, May, June, July, August, so May. So they're listed in May are the ones that are closing in August, okay? So for example, right now in February, when people say, oh, well, I'm gonna wait for the spring market, say, great. Let me ask you a question. I'm one real estate agent. I've had this conversation 5 times this week. What do you think is going to happen in the springtime to the inventory? The inventory is going to go up, and when the inventory goes up, what happens to when supply goes up and demand does not equal the supply? What happens to the marketplace? It becomes stagnant, or it slows, or it declines. So in the seasonal shift, typically it will become stagnant. So understanding that as an investor, and I'm also an investor, when I list my properties for sale, I list them in January. And I do so because you're coming out of the holiday season. You had the least amount of competition. There's almost no competition in January. Now, are there less, if this is the buyers right here, are there less buyers? Yes. But if there's less buyers, and here's your sellers, the sellers go down to here and the buyers go down to here. In May, what happens is the buyers go up to here and the sellers go up to here. So it's understanding the way that these economies interact with each other, which is pretty vital to understand how that shift plays in. And that's a seasonal shift that happens every single year. You can look back the last decade, and it's the same graph every single year. And so there are 3 shifts that we should be aware of. And I don't know if I answer your question. Did I answer your question, Diedrich?
Yes, it is. But I have a follow-up question on that, though.
Sure.
Realizing these shifts, would you recommend, first or like really new real estate agents that these shifts needs to be they need to be prioritized as far as being new to the industry? These are the first things that they need to realize in order for them to climb up that ladder of success. Would you recommend that as something that they would prioritize?
I think that you have to, as a professional, the reality of it is I got a friend that's a heart surgeon. I make more money than he does. Now, I'm not saying that to be boastful. I'm really not. I'm saying that because I think that that's a tragedy. Okay? Now, with the understanding of that, I feel as though if it's my professional obligation to have the knowledge of not only of the economy, of the marketplace, of the more knowledge that I have, then the better I can serve my clients. Okay, because I get compensated well to do what I do. Now, I work just as hard as he does. I probably work harder than he does, but he has a whole hell of a lot more schooling than I'll ever have. So understanding that, I believe as any agent, I believe that it's our responsibility to be able to communicate as much data as we can to our clients. For example, if I'm working with a buyer, I'm going to show them the market's data in the community that we're looking at, so we can see like year over year, what has the market increased, as a decline, what's the inventory look like, and you can get all that information from GetSmarts. If you're a real estate agent here in Northern Virginia, you should have access to that. We pay for the upgraded subscription for GetSmart, so we get more data, but even if you don't pay for it, it gives you at least general data. Anthony
Awesome.
has a question real quick, Diedrich. What lead generation strategy should you do when there's a change in the market, buyers or sellers, or vice versa? The answer to your question is always sellers. So regardless of what's going on in the marketplace, those that control the inventory are those that are going to be able to succeed at the highest level. You always want to focus on listings. They're more highly leveraged, and when you're working with a buyer, there's only one way that you can get more business from them, and that's a referral, unless if they are repeat business. From a listing, you can get much more business from them because you can advertise it online. You can do open houses. You can door knock. You can do flyers. You can actually advertise that business, that listing, and you could get sign calls. We get text notifications on our listings. We have a little thing out there to say, text information that will give them all the information for the home. They'll go right to their phone, and that's the way that we can be able to obtain more business. So, Anthony, it's always sellers.
All right, Anthony, did that answer your question? Yeah, for some reason it always takes some time for the answers.
We may be on a delay, probably. That's probably why.
Yeah, that's true.
Cool.
I've noticed.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely, Anthony. If that didn't answer your question, don't worry. I'm gonna go ahead and tell Dan to go back and explain further. Right now, we can, if it's okay, we can jump on to the next question. But don't you worry, you're always considered. We're gonna go back. Oh, there we go.
There's a yes.
There's the big yes. Awesome. All right. So my next question right now, Dan, is really focusing more on what you have experienced or what you went through the years and years of being in the industry. So in your personal experience, what are the best lead generation systems that you can recommend to our audience today? I know there is an evolution, or there's always a change in the systems throughout, especially if it's over a decade. Even music and fashion changes. But what about lead generation? So through your experience and all of those lead generation processes or systems that you were able to encounter, what are the best lead generation systems that you can recommend?
The one you'll use.
The one that I'm sorry.
The one that you'll use.
The one that you'll use. Can you elaborate on that?
Sure. Okay. If we look at marketing, we talk about marketing. Well, first of all, every single lead generation strategy works. Open houses, door knocking, calling for sale by owners, knocking on for sale by owners, calling expired listings, Facebook advertising, Zillow, hosting, communicating systematically with your sphere of influence, radio ads, television ads, wrapping your car with advertisement, going to networking events. These all work. All of it works. But they don't all work for everybody. Okay? Because what happens is, for example, if you're going to do a postcard marketing thing, you should have an understanding and expectation it's going to take 18 months for that postcard campaign to be able to reap a return. Okay? So if it's going to take 18 months to be able to reap a return, then you should have 18 months of money in a bank account only for that campaign that you don't spend for anything else. And just, I would even recommend opening up its own bank account. So it's a real easy way to sit there and say, well, how many people should I mail to? Well, my answer to that is, how much money do you have for lead generation? And here's how much you should consider to budget for lead generation. It should be 10% of your gross revenue. So if your gross revenue is $100,000, it should be $10,000. Now on the lower ends, it's a little bit harder to do that, because let's say you make $40,000 and you're going to put $4,000 into your lead generation efforts. Well, there's only 36,000 left over, and that's not enough to live in our economy here in Northern Virginia. So understanding that is as the numbers get higher, it's easier to keep those ratios. So whatever you decide to do, if I did open houses, I would do 5 open houses a week. I would do 10 open houses a week. I would do as many open houses a week that I could, and I would do it forever, because whatever you do will work. So my highest recommendation in regards to which lead generation activity you should do, it's going to be whichever one that you will do. And whichever one that you will do, that you get passion and joy and you feel good about doing. Because if you don't have passion and joy and you don't feel good about doing it, you're not going to do it.
That's true.
Okay, so that's my answer to, so if it's going to be marketing, make sure you got enough money to float it for 18 months. If it's going to be prospecting, make sure you get joy and passion for doing whatever activity that is, which is why I will not do an open house. Now, our team does. We do open houses for our clients. I think open houses are fantastic. It's just not my thing.
All right. Well, we have right now, we have viewers, we have here in the audience multiple personalities, and like if we have multiple personalities, definitely they have multiple opinions of what the ideal lead generation system is, at least their top three. So let's go ahead and hit the audience right now with a question. What do you guys think is the top or the best lead generation system that you guys use according to who you are as a person? So we would like your thoughts on that. So if anybody can share that, we will be more than happy to discuss that with you or ask more questions just to know what would be our basis next time as far as lead generation is concerned. So we'd love to hear your thoughts.
I like the way that you kept talking and talking and talking to make up for the delay. Yeah, it's a really long question there to make it work.
Yeah, I was trying to make it a little bit longer just for them. The main question was already done, but I know that there's the delay, so definitely. But for me, Dan, as far as lead generation is concerned, especially when you asked me that question, after I asked you the initial question, I was baffled. To tell you honestly, I was baffled. What is this guy trying to say? So here we go.
This is my wife, Tracy, right here.
Hi.
All right, so we have Julene, and she said Facebook leads for her would be the best type of system or lead generation system.
Yeah.
So, okay, we have Anthony. Make the call and make your conversation the most important and most valuable.
Yeah, we do Facebook. We do Facebook leads. The best way to do a Facebook lead, and I love it because with Facebook leads, Anthony's saying hi to you, Tracy. With Facebook leads, we do those because because we can really target our the users. So with Facebook, for example, we can target. You can go on there. You can first of all you can exclude all real estate agents, which is important. Because you don't want to spend your money advertising to me, because I'm not going to hire you, right? To buy or sell a home at least. And so you can exclude all the real estate agents, and then you can put in things like most likely to move. You can put in things like friends just moved. You can put in things that they have interest in Redfin, Zillow. Buying a home, investing, so you can go through all their interests and you can really target very, very effectively. And as people are able to target effectively, then you're able to get a return on that. So then the other piece of it is that you can manage your costs very well, and then as you're managing your cost, you can attract buyers in and we find buyers and sellers. We advertise our listings for sale, and it's amazing to me that it's about 30% of our return is actually listings instead of buyers. I'm not sure exactly how that works out, but it works, so I'm happy for it.
All right. Well, I have this question, Dan. This is coming from my heart right now, and I'm pretty sure some of the guys out there want to know what's going on. If you're talking about the traditional way of lead generating, which is obviously it is always phone calls.
Not always.
Hmm. Oh, okay.
Sorry
Well,
to cut you off. Sorry.
it's okay. Well, one of the most effective way traditionally is making
Maybe.
phone calls.
Sure.
So right now we're living in this digital era, an age of communication where you can reach people 10 times more than you can actually reach, when doing phone calls. So let me ask you this though: why is it still relevant? When I'm talking about relevant, I'm talking about the phone calls. Why is it still relevant today if we have all of these online Facebook ads, online lead generating mediums? So is it still relevant today, and why?
It is absolutely, and it is because of what's called a hierarchy of communication. So what makes this an effective communication methodology? What we're doing right now, as opposed
Right.
to me doing, as opposed to us doing this on audio, for example.
Well, I believe this is more of a combination of both. But yes, definitely we are talking.
Right, it's eyeball to eyeball. We can see each other.
Yes.
Okay. So if you look at the hierarchy of communication, the highest level of communication is face to face, eyeball to eyeball. The second level of communication would be video. Okay. And the reason why this is less than eyeball to eyeball is because I can't see everybody that I'm communicating with right now. So I cannot see your physiology. I cannot see your facial expressions. I cannot see your reactions. I cannot see the way that you're breathing. I cannot see the way that you're reacting. Okay, so this is not as effective as if we were in a classroom setting right now. Okay, but because it's snowing, we can't do the classroom. That's why we're doing it in this methodology. So then if you bring it down, you see the highest level of communication is eyeball to eyeball, face to face. Then it's video. Then it's voice to voice. So that would be the phone call. Below the phone call would be text. Below the text would be Facebook message. Below the Facebook message would be email. Below the email would be some sporadic, something that's being communicated, mailers or something like that. So when you can understand that you want to, as a prospect, you want to get them to the highest level of communication because it's the most effective level of communication is what you want to do. Okay, so when you do a Facebook ad, that Facebook ad is intended to do what?
To reach more people?
To get them on the phone.
Right.
Because
Gotcha.
you start out there in the ethers of we haven't met these people, we want to attract them, and we want to identify that we believe that they're going to be good prospects that are going to be able to not only, oh, by the way, you can also target their credit lines. You used to be able to target their income, but unfortunately Facebook got in all kinds of trouble. They can't do that anymore. But so you can also see, are they qualified or likely to be qualified to be able to buy a home? So let's say you use Facebook, for example, is to funnel in likely prospective buyers so that you can get their contact information, so that you can call them, so that you can set up an appointment face to face with them. All right, and that's the funnel of where we are. So having phone conversations, the reason why that's so important is because it's a higher level of communication.
Right. Understood. Okay.
But guess what? When I have that phone conversation, the next step that I want is to have a face-to-face, eyeball to eyeball. Now, if the prospect or the seller, I've got sellers that we're helping right now, they're in Alaska, we're in Northern Virginia. I will never meet them, but guess what? When I communicate with them, it's on Hangouts, on Google Hangouts or Skype or something like that, because I want to be able to see them.
Right, it's true. And in my opinion, as far as if you think about it, relationships are concerned. That's why sometimes people get deceived as far as making relationships online because they weren't able to talk personally to the other person, and you can always dish out even false information online, and
Sure.
without even knowing the person. So I get what you mean there, Dan, and awesome. Yes.
All right, cool. Let's do one last question and finish it up. If we could, we'll do one last question, and then I'm going to prepare everybody right now because we're on a delay. I'm pretty sure we're on a delay. So
Okay.
I'd like to do one last question for Dietrich to ask me one last question, and then while I'm answering that, I'd like for you to do two things. Ask any questions that we haven't answered yet, and place one thing that you've learned today in the chat there, and we can finish up by acknowledging what you've learned and what's been an aha for you. So Dietrich, let's do one last question, and then we'll start wrapping this up.
All right. So apparently, I have one more question left.
I didn't know that. Perfect.
Perfect. So we're on track. So,
right.
Okay, so we're focusing on lead generation. So,
Okay.
are lead generation systems necessary or significant in today's market, or is it diminishing, or is the significance of lead generation systems diminishing with the use of services offered by Zillow that you can easily just log on to and do it online, and you can have all these people there? So is it making the lead generation system less significant than it was before?
No, not at all. In fact, it's making it more important, because what you have to understand is really ultimately, and I haven't even mentioned this because we've been talking more about lead generation, but what you have to understand is it's about finding that your sphere of influence is really what you want to be communicating with, or who you want to be communicating with. Okay, and if you could imagine as like, here's my sphere of influence, I want to put a moat around them so that I'm the economist of choice, not Zillow. I want to put a moat around them so that I'm providing them with a huge level of value and contribution, so that when they have a question, they pick up the phone and they say, "Hey Dan, hey, can you help me rent out a room in my basement?" Right? Like, even if it's that I mean, that's that's not exactly what I do, but I'm grateful that they're considering me as the resource to be able to ask that question on. Okay, so now when you look at Zillow specifically, in Northern Virginia, Maryland, and DC, at least Maryland around the DC metro area, in my experience, Zillow is cost prohibitive. I accidentally did an experiment with Zillow that I hired a buyer's agent that lived in Winchester, Virginia, which is it's a little bit, it's not in Northern Virginia. It's in a more rural area. And at the time that I hired her, she had a Zillow account, which had 3 months left on her subscription. And I told her that I would take over and I would pay for that the last 3 months, because part of my value proposition for my team is that our agents don't pay anything for their marketing, or they don't pay anything. And so as I did that, we accidentally found out, and at the time she was paying $450 a month for the Zillow. It worked really well in regards to the investment in the rural area, and I believe that that's because we weren't competing with as many sophisticated agents. Not to say that there's not sophisticated agents in Winchester. There's great agents everywhere. It's just saying that there's not as many. Okay, in Northern Virginia, there's a lot of really, really smart agents that we're competing with, and really, unfortunately, what's happened is agents, and because there's so many agents that everyone's like pour money into advertising at Zillow, it's getting diluted. And when you look at the return, it's a bad investment. I can say that with certainty because I've tested this, and I've tested this at a high level. So for me, it's more about, and I want to make sure that we're clear on this. Lead generation is not just banging out the phones. That's my preferred methodology of lead generation because I'm skilled at it. But it's not just that. Networking is just as valid. Open houses is just as valid. Whatever it is that you believe in and that you love doing, that's what you should do. But ultimately, it's about finding that sphere of influence and contributing to them, communicating with them at least 33 times every single year. At least we communicate to our database over 86 times a year, which may seem excessive, yet you have to understand every single time I communicate with them, what am I doing? Hey, here's an ice cream cone. Remember? So it's always coming from value and contribution. If I do that 86 times, or if I do that 82 times a year and 4 times a year I ask for business, guess what I get? I get referrals and I get business. Somebody's calling me right now. Let me click that off. Sorry for that. So, all right, Rob, thought your description of contributing value 4 or 5 times prior to the ask and your script for asking for help was very helpful. That is awesome, Rob. Thank you for that feedback. All right. What other, any other questions, any thoughts, any comments, any ahas? Thank you, Rob, for sharing that. I'll give you guys another second or so. I'd love to hear your feedback. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are. I'm happy to stay on and answer some more questions as well. Or I can go get that porterhouse steak that's I wish was in my refrigerator upstairs.
But it's been awesome. This is something that needs to be constantly reminded to all the real estate agents out there. All the thoughts that you actually, for me personally, this is something that I can definitely use. I'm not a real estate agent, just to let everybody know. But all these things, like from the first question that I launched when we started the show, it is somehow related to what everything Dan has, explained throughout the show, which is related to real estate. And it also applies to a lot of industries as well. That's why it makes sense to me, even though if it is, custom fitted or tailor fitted for real estate on this show. So awesome job, Dan.
Oh, we have a couple of ahas I want to read off there, but before I do that, I know Anthony's online right now. Anthony, we just got a seller lead that came in. Can you call them, please, so I can finish this up? Thank you.
Nice.
That's an opportunity that I have to. All right. That's so funny. All right, so let's see what we got here. So I'll just read these last comments and we'll finish up. So Julene says, we are not in the real estate business. We are in the lead generation business, specializing in real estate sales. And I altered what you said there just a little bit, Julene, with your permission. Julia said, everything was really helpful. Thank you a lot. Please do more of online videos like this. I will certainly do that. Rob says, appreciate your time. Look forward to meeting you someday. I would love to meet you, Rob. And Maria says, thank you, Dan, for sharing your knowledge. Maria, thank you for sharing your participation and your knowledge as well. Thanks, guys. Last thing, if you're not already logged on to Rock Solid Coaching group or website, Diedrich, could you post in the notes here where they can click onto that so they can be a part of the group that we do these in, and like the page as well? That would be fantastic. And if anybody ever wants to set up a one-on-one with me to learn, if I may be able to help you in your real estate sales business, I'd be happy to set up that meeting. You can just catch me online on Facebook, Dan Rochon, or you can email me, Dan@greetingsvirginia.com. And if I can ever be a resource for you, I'd be happy to do so. So good luck to you guys and your success. Thank you.
Thank you.